I hope everyone has been having meaningful holidays. There were many more types of Hasidic groups before the Second World War than there are after. Some of them were very well known in pre-war Europe, and they've become much less known today. Rabbi Yechiel of Alexander was once one of the very, very well-known Hasidic Rebbes, and as it was common, there were many Hasidim that would come, making it difficult for the Rebbe to rest. So at one point, he goes off for a rest cure with his son, Yisiel Yitzhak, who would be the next Alexander Rebbe. And they go to an isolated village where no one can find them. And one night, the tzaddik suddenly becomes very ill. Rabbi Yechiel becomes very ill, and he believes that he's reached the end of his days, and he starts crying. And his son, Rabbi Yisrael Yitzhak, hugs his father and says, "I swear to you, nothing bad is going to happen." He then goes outside, talks to God, talks to Ribbono Shel Olam, and he says, "Ribbono Shel Olam, is this what you do for the Rebbe of Alexander in this forest where no one is here? Isn't it true that the Gemara says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu chas al kavodo shel tzadikim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares for the honor of the tzadikim?" He immediately returned to his father and found him feeling better. His father asked, "How could you swear to me that nothing bad was going to happen?" And the son said, "I relied on the words of Yisrael of Rosh. In the book of Psalms, Tehillim, David HaMelech says, "Ad ana tastir es penecha mimeni, for how long will you hide your face from me? Ad ana ashis eitzos benafshi, how long will I take counsel in my soul?" And the Roshner gives a novel interpretation to this. How long will you hide from me? As long as I only take counsel in my soul. When I can look and find other people to help me, at that point, I haven't fully turned to God. But when there's no one around to turn to other than God, at that point, God can no longer hide from me. At that point, he has to help. So out here in the middle of a forest, said the son, Rabbi Yisrael Yitzhak, to his father, Rabbi Yechiel, the Rebbe of Alexander, when there's no possibility of getting help from anyone else, the only thing I could do was to turn to God, and he was not capable anymore of hiding from me. Astir P'nai Behem, it says in the Parsha, I will hide my face from them. There is an very interesting thing in the Kisvei of the Ramchal, the writings of the Ramchal, Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, where in one of his books, Nefesh HaMaskeles, the soul that becomes wise, it's a conversation between the neshama, the soul, and the seichel, the wisdom of a person. The seichel asks the questions and the neshama answers them. And at one point, the Ramchal writes there that every time we ask a question of God, he always answers. But he only answers once. And if we're not open to the answer, we won't see it, and the question won't be answered at a different time. Astir P'nai Mehem, I will hide my face from them, is just as much our action as God's action. Meaning, we have to open ourselves up to be aware of what's happening around us in order to be able to perceive the divine. When we go through the Yomim Tovim, it is a opportunity for us to be able to see what's actually happening. It's interesting, the Ramban on our Parsha says, if someone would tell you the future and half it would come through, you believe that the other half would come true. So he says, we who have seen the first half of Parshas Haazinu have seen all the disasters that it talks about. So therefore we should know that all of the good things are going to come about true as well. That we should have perfect faith that the final redemption is going to happen at the appropriate time. My Rebbe of Drukman says that when the Ramban wrote it, only disasters has occurred. By our time today, we've seen many good things as well. And so, although there is still a certain level of Hester Panim, of God's hiding his face from us, nonetheless, there are times which we can begin to see things. Karev Yom, Asher Hu Lo Yom V'Lo Laila, it says in the Navi and Treyasar, that the day will come when it is neither day nor night, and at the time of evening, there will be light. So, first of all, what kind of day? At the end of the day, there's night. At the end of the day, it's light. Meaning, normally at the end of the day, it gets dark, not light. So, Rashi explains the pasuk. He says, Lo Yom V'Lo Laila. It is not the day of complete redemption. It is not the night of complete exile. It's an in-between time when we go from the exile to redemption. When this day, when this time period, this in-between time period between exile and redemption is over, then at that point there will be the complete light of redemption. There is in Kedusha some of the Nusachos, some of the texts for Kedusha of Musaf. It says, Hu Yikalenu Sheni Sleini Kol Chai, he will redeem us a second time before all living things. Achris Kureshis, the last time like the first time. Well, shouldn't we be talking about the third? There was the redemption of the first temple, there was redemption of the second temple. Shouldn't we be talking about the third? So it said in the name of Rashi, by his Talmidim, that he explained that in the first temple, we had political independence for, at that point it was 400 years before the temple was built. So there's political independence before there's spiritual independence. In the construction of the second temple, we were still part of the Persian Empire. We had no political independence when the temple was built, and therefore it's not a proper redemption. We were still controlled by other nations, not free. We were in our land, but not free in our land. And the third time, Rashi says, we will be free in our land first, and from that we will have the spiritual redemption of the temple being built. May this be something that we see speedily after we complete our Yom Tovim. We should be zocha to see this kind of spiritual growth and development. We should no longer suffer this hester panim. We should no longer have to say, Adan Ashis Eitzos B'nafshi, how long do I have to take the counsel of my soul and not the direct counsel of God? Everyone should have wonderful Shabbos and meaningful holidays.